What is up, guys? It is the Blue Bloods here, coming back at y'all with another episode of the 2 Minute Drill right here on the Blue Bloods, man. Thursday, May 6th, and I couldn't be more happy to be with y'all tonight. We got some big news. We're a little bit late on it because we were doing some NFL draft coverage, and we had a lot of SWAC football, HBCU football coverage. I wanted to kind of get out there because it was very, very relevant for me to get those few episodes out there. We had the SWAC championship recap. We had, the whole scandal with the HBCUs not having any representation in the NFL draft. So there were a few episodes I had to get out before this one, but this is a story for me that I'm excited to cover because we covered this job opening as it happened. And, there is a candidate that was hired for the Kansas Jayhawks. And so, before we get to that, I mean, the Kansas Jayhawks have probably had one of the most tumultuous, rough, tough, just one of the worst off seasons probably in recent memory in college football. You have Les Miles being fired after the disturbing reports came out of LSU and left the Jayhawks without a head coach right before spring practices began. And then you got to go through spring with an interim head coach while trying to convince other candidates from other programs to lead their teams in the middle of spring practice. That's never going to be a difficult task to do, and it's very, very hard to, convince a coach to say, like, you've recruited these kids, you did this, you did that, but we're gonna have to, you're gonna have to lead those kids. And then, on top of not having a head coach, they fire their AD, Jeff Long, who was credited to bringing Miles into Kansas, made some questionable hires during his time at Kansas, and so you don't have an AD. They get Travis Goff, and they don't have a head coach now. And so just to show you kind of how rough it's been for Kansas, Miles was the fifth head coach fired in the past 12 years for the Jayhawks, while Long, this stat blows my mind, Long was the fourth AD for the Jayhawks in that same amount of time. In those same 12 years, guys, they went 26 and 115. They lost 115 games while winning under 30 games. And they finished last place in the Big 12 10 times in those 12 years. I mean, you look at what they've done and you look at how bad this program has been, and you just have to wonder, well, what in the world happened to get a program to get any program to where Kansas is right now? I mean, we're talking about a job, guys, that might be the worst job in college football. I mean, to put it nicely, I mean, I need you guys to tell me, is there a job out there that you're like, man, I probably would rather be at Kansas than that job, a Power 5 job at that? I think Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State, Memphis, Cincinnati, there's a lot of Group of 5 jobs that are way ahead of where Kansas is right now. And so we cover this opening. We mentioned that my biggest things were they need a coach that brings a winning culture. He can turn lower-rated, overlooked talent into overachievers, and has experience building a program from almost nothing into something. And I really think that Kansas found their guy, and I think he's the real deal. They got Leipold. Lance Leipold is the new head coach at Kansas. It is Leipold. I did my research this time. I'll get on to me about names all the time. I wanted to say Leipold, but it's Leipold. So, got to educate the grammar, people on this one. It is Leipold. I did my research, but he has built 2 winning cultures. And he's probably, arguably, I know this sounds crazy, a more accomplished coach than Les Miles was coming into Kansas. This is a guy who, it's kind of funny. I'll get to this in a little bit. He has like this background kind of similar to what Kansas State was looking for when they hired Chris Kleiman for North Dakota State. Leipold won 6 D3 national titles in 8 years at Wisconsin Whitewater. He's 34-1 in the D3 playoffs while being the head coach. He won 5 straight national titles, guys, to start his head coaching career, and was a 6-time AFCA D3 Coach of the Year at his time in the D3. And I get it. You're going to say, listen, man, this is D3 football. This is different. This is Big 12 football, big boy football. It's different. I get it. It is different. You're not wrong. But the thing is, I still think it matters that he's a winner. He knows what it takes to be a winner at a different level. Yeah, given it's a different level, but you still hired a winner. And if you don't like what he did at the D3, he goes on to Buffalo. This is a 2-10 team. He won a MAC championship by year 4. He actually won 2 MAC championships, including this year's, in his final 3 seasons at Buffalo. 3 straight bowl appearances. He won 2 of those and was a 2-time MAC Coach of the Year. So, yes, he can do it at multiple levels. He did it at D3. He did it in the Group of 5. And now he heads to the Power 5 to continue his career. I get it. It just bothers me, when just as an Auburn fan, I look back at the Gene Chizik hire. A lot of people were like, not only do we not know who this guy is, he isn't a winner. Yeah, he did go on to win a national championship, given I think, number 2 on that team had a lot to do with it, but he wasn't a winner. And a lot of people had a problem with that. Well, this guy is a winner, and he's won at multiple levels. I mean, listen, I don't care if you're coaching high school football, youth football. To win 6 national titles in 8 years is difficult, and no matter what level you're coaching at. So for me, I put a lot of value in that. And then to turn Buffalo, who was at a really, really low level, 2-10, to win two MAC championships in your final 3 years shows that he knows how he's not only a guy who can establish a winning culture, but he can build a program up from almost nothing. And that's what you're going to have to do at Kansas. Kansas, you're not going to be able to get the top recruits around the country. You're going to have to build it slowly, but having a coach that knows what it takes to build a solid foundation is the biggest thing, and knows how to, has established a winning culture. And that is what Leipold has done. So that was the first thing. And then the other thing I mentioned, man, was development. That's going to be key at Kansas. Leipold has shown that he can develop talent in his program and win with a talent deficit. You guys remember Jared Patterson, right? We covered him on the podcast, and this was the guy who ran for 400-plus yards and 8 touchdowns in 1 game this season from Buffalo. In only 6 games this year, he had over 1,000 yards rushing, led the country in yards per game rushing, had 19 rushing touchdowns, and over 7.5 yards per carry in only 6 games this season. This is a guy who was a gray shirt recruit, which means he barely was a part of the team when he got to campus, and probably didn't factor much into their plans at Buffalo. I mean, when he got to Buffalo, he didn't factor much into their plans at Buffalo. Leipold turned this guy into a monster, and he actually is on the NFL roster now. The Washington football team signed him this past weekend for the NFL draft. And you're like, okay, that's one player, Zach. I mean, you got to develop so much talent. Well, so I mentioned, right, in the last part, he won the MAC championship in 2018 and 2020, right? So let's look at those recruiting classes for those teams. So I took 2015 to 2020. It's a pretty good circle around these these MAC championships. 2015, 118th in the country, 11th in the MAC. 2016, 118th in the country again, 9th in the MAC. 2017, 113th in the country, 9th in the MAC. 2018, 136th, 12th in the MAC. Then the highest rated one, 106th in the country, only 7th in the MAC. 2020, 131st, 12th in the MAC. This guy had 2 classes that were in the top 10 in the MAC and did not have one that was above 7th. And he never had a top 100 recruiting class at Buffalo, but still found a way to win 2 conference titles and 2 out of 3 bowl games his last 3 years at Buffalo. And then you're saying, okay, well, that's great. But he also developed 3 NFL draft picks, including a 3rd-round pick this year out of those recruiting classes, and multiple undrafted free agent signings that are in the league right now. And Recruiting at Buffalo is tough. You might be saying, well, that just says he can't recruit. I find me a coach that's going to put together a class in the top 100 at Buffalo. We're not talking about the Buffalo Bills. We're not talking about, some program that is just accomplished and has the history and has just been underperforming. Buffalo is Buffalo, man. That's a solid class for Buffalo. But he was able to do it with a talent deficit, turn those kids into players, and was able to go out on the field and beat you with what he had. That's what you're going to have to do with Kansas. You probably aren't going to be competing for Big 12 titles anytime soon, but wouldn't it be nice to get 4, 5, 6 wins, make a bowl game? That's what Leipold is going to have to be building toward. Recruiting is going to be tough. I get it. Leipold is going to have access to a more rich talent base than he had at Buffalo. And the Big 12 conference is going to help this process. I mean, playing in the Big 12 and being a D1 Power 5 program is going to help his recruiting just 1,000 times over. I mean, that is huge to have that conference money to help fund your program. There's going to be better facilities, better help, all the above for Leipold here at Kansas. And then I said it on our Kansas job breakdown, a few months ago, that the biggest thing for me was the connection to Kansas, the connection to the Midwest, because those are going to be extremely important for recruiting. Leipold checked that box as well. He was the quarterback in Wisconsin-Whitewater, coached at Wisconsin-Whitewater in the 80s, 90s as an assistant, and was the head coach from 2007 to 2014. Now, I know you're saying Wisconsin's kind of the North. It's still pretty much considered the Midwest. And Wisconsin, you got to recruit those same Midwest states that you do when you coach at a place like Kansas. And not only that, he recruited this area while finding those lower rated recruits that he could turn into players on the field that put some output out while they were on the field. He also was an assistant at Nebraska Omaha from 94 to 2000, while also being an assistant at Nebraska from 2001 to 2003. That is huge. Nebraska and Kansas recruit the same areas, compete for the same players, so hopefully he can dig in his bag and kind of, I guess, revitalize those connections that he had while he was at Nebraska, at Omaha and Nebraska. Now, I don't expect that this is going to be easy. I do not expect Leipold to succeed right away. But when you are in our position like Kansas is right now, when you're hiring a culture builder, guys, the most important thing is that you hire someone who knows how to win, but also is not afraid to, I guess, tear some stuff that, like, you've seen him do it. He went to Buffalo, that 2-10 team. He said, we got to get rid of these players that aren't performing, that aren't living up to the standard that I want to set here. And I'm going to go recruit the kids where some people might not want them because they don't have the stars next to their name. They don't have the accolades, but they're going to go out. They're going to show up on time. They're going to practice hard. They're going to play hard for me on the field. And we're going to go 1v1 on the field. And my guy can outperform your guy just because he wants it more. And that's what Leipold is going to have to build here at Kansas, because they're not going to out-recruit Oklahoma. They're not going to out-recruit Texas, TCU. They probably even won't out-recruit Kansas State. Definitely not Iowa State, Oklahoma State. I mean, the list goes on. And they're going to be recruiting at the bottom of the Big 12 for a while, unless, he just builds this program up and they just become a powerhouse, which is highly unlikely at this point. I can't give it an A+ because, I mean, there is always a chance that it's a bust, and it's not like they went out and hired just a ridiculous, like they stole, Brandon always gets on to me about my skills. They didn't go out and hire a Lincoln Riley or someone like that, but they did go out and hire, I think, one of the best choices for them. Monken and Leipold Jeff Monken at Army and Leipold were the two final choices. And I think I would have given an A for Monken. He was my top choice, but for Leipold, I'm giving it a B+, maybe an A-, just because I think the potential is there, and Leipold has all the tools to build something and do something special at Kansas. I want to see, so the biggest thing for me is I want to see how he handles this season. This season for me is the most important season for Leipold because he didn't get to run his team through spring practices. He didn't get to put the final touches on the recruiting class. like some of the newer coaches, some of the other new coaches did around the country. He also gets a very, very late start on the 2022 cycle. How does he finish out the class? And how does he handle the big amount of grad transfers and just transfers that Kansas has had in the past few months? Leipold is going to set the tone this upcoming 2021 season. So how does he handle that? I think the goal, so this is going to sound crazy, guys. I know, if you listen to the podcast, you're going to be like, man, how in the world is that a goal? The goal this year for me is not even to get a win for Kansas. If they get one win, Leipold gets an A+ for the year. And I know that just sounds absolutely bananas, but if they get 1 to 2 wins this year, that is an A++ for me. All I want to see is, are the players playing hard for him? Does the scheme work for the players that he's bringing in? And 3, what does that culture look like around the state of Kansas football? We're not going out there saying that if they may, like, let's just say they go out there and win 6 games by the grace of God. We're talking about they should name the stadium after Leipold, is how bad this Kansas program is. I think just being competitive, even if you don't win a game, could be satisfactory for this program. And then in year 2 or 3, you could focus on getting 3-4 wins. And I know it just sounds weird, but that's really the standard right now at Kansas, because they've been so down bad and they've been just an abysmal program. So Leipold is the hire here for Kansas. I really like the hire. I think it could really work out in the long run for Kansas. And so I think the goal is you just got to be patient with them. You just got to say, okay, we got to give them 6 years minimum. And we just got to hang on these first probably 2-3 years. And then by year 4, when he has that recruiting class and when he has that culture established, can we be somewhat competitive in the Big 12? Can we finish 8th, 7th, or 8th in the Big 12? Then can we finish 5th or 6th? Can we be in that mid-tier and go from there? Leipold has probably the biggest rebuild in the country on his hands, guys, and I'm very, very interested to see how he handles it. But I will update y'all if any more information comes out. But Lance Leipold, head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks, is going to be very, very interested to see how it is. It is Travis Goff's first hire as a new AD there. Can we bring Kansas back? That's the big question I think we're all asking. But, guys, comment below if you're a Jayhawks fan what you thought of the hire. Or if you're not a Jayhawks fan, what do you think of the hire as a whole? Do you think Kansas could ever be back? And what do you think the expectations are moving forward? Make sure to comment below and interact with us here on the 2-Minute Drill and the Blue Bloods. But, guys, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe, of course. We are inching ever closer to 200 subscribers. Make sure to subscribe now to enter yourself in the next merch giveaway. We've pretty much contacted everyone who won the first one. We're about to send out merch there. So they're going to submit pictures of the awesome merch we're going to send them, man. And that way y'all can see what y'all are missing out on and can get y'all some. We'll probably try, we're going to, just a big announcement here, we're probably going to try to launch a Patreon here toward the end of the year, probably somewhere between August and September, where we can sell some merch to you guys too. So if you want some 2-Minute Drill Blue Bloods merch, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for our Patreon. But guys, it's been an awesome week. We still have another episode coming. We had some technical difficulties with our first Pac-12 and 31 days guest, so we're going to actually have to reschedule him and re-record that episode. We had some real big technical difficulties with just being across country and everything. So we have an awesome guest coming up Friday, man. We have Jim McGill from Cal beat reporter, going to be joining us Friday. So that episode will be posted Friday morning. So just stay tuned as we kick off our Pac-12 in 31 days. And of course, 2-Minute Drill posted Monday through Friday right here on our YouTube channel. But guys, for myself, the Blue Bloods, and the 2-Minute Drill, I am out.